Joink. Beep, beep. Good morning, everybody, and welcome to this thing that we like to call Movie Mondays with Matt Plus on the Northern News Now Plus app. I'm your host, whether you like it or not, Matt Rasmussen, a.k.a. the King of Halloween, a.k.a. Morning Show Director here, a.k.a. Local filmmaker, and a.k.a. host of Movie Mondays with Matt. I'm sure right away you're like, wow, he's in a straitjacket. Finally. What took so long to get this guy taken away? Sorry, just a costume. This is my Dr. Hannibal Lecter costume here. I've actually had this very costume since like 2001. I'll show you some old photos and video later as a fun little surprise as to how long I've had this costume and Dr. Hannibal Lecter in my life here. Yes, this is the Silence of the Lambs episode because it is coming back to theaters for this week only. It's a limited engagement to celebrate the 35th anniversary of this amazing movie that not only swept the Oscars, but it won Best Picture. And it won Anthony Hopkins Best Actor. It really put him on the map. He was kind of an unknown at the time. So before we get into the box office figures, let me just show you all the stuff I have here. Silence of the Lambs I have on DVD and Blu-ray on the end there. We have, of course, some fava beans and a nice Chianti. Yeah, I could have done better than that. There, that was the noise I was going for. So we have those little props, and don't worry, that is not real Chianti. That is, it's like Welch's, it's not Welch's brand, but it's like in that same area. It's bubbling, sparkling soda, so non-alcoholic there. The anchors wanted to make that point clear this morning on the desk. Fava beans! Those are actually not real fava beans either. That's a soup can wrapped in a fava beans label because I couldn't find fava beans anywhere in town. I looked all week. You'd have to specially import them, and they're very expensive. And I thought, what do I have lying around at home? A soup can, so let's just go that route. So, sorry, no actual fava beans, but that is actually a lotion and a basket. And you'll note, I placed the lotion in the basket, just as Buffalo Bill would want. So that was also on the desk this morning, and everyone was super uncomfortable with that as well. We have the Hannibal Lecter, the sequel soundtrack over here. I think I have the first one somewhere on CD as well. Then my retro Anthony Hopkins Hannibal Lecter toy over here. I think it's the first ever Hannibal Lecter action figure that was made, and he comes with the cart, and he comes with the, I was kind of looking for a strap today to kind of emulate that look, and that's a removable mask. I love this figure. And then now they have like the new NECA ones where you can get different versions of him, and I was thinking about getting those. There's like one where he's in the scene where he's got the all white on, the white shirt, and he's got the nightstick, that whole scene that plays out. It's great, but I did not invest in any of those. I'm just happy with my old retro Hannibal Lecter figure. And then over here on the end we have the Tower of Fear. Once again, you may recognize the Tower of Fear that I brought in on the Frankenstein episode and the Mummy episode. I think on something else as well, just to kind of like fill in some space because the monitors don't work like they used to anymore. So anyway, there's a little intro to those things. So let's get into the movie stuff, huh? We're going to talk about Silence of the Lambs here today. We're going to talk about every Hannibal Lecter related thing that has come out, and then I'm going to tease ahead to some events and things coming up as well. But before we get into all of that, let's first look at our box office numbers, huh? I think I have the numbers actually working this time around, so let's take a look here. Joink. Okay, here we go. So, number 5, The Drama, fell to 5th place on $2.6 million in ticket sales. Then, number 4, $5.6 million put Lee Cronin's The Mummy, a.k.a. Lee Cronin's The Evil Dead Mummy, in 4th place. Still love this one. And number 3, plenty of people still love Project Hail Mary. The space adventure made $13.2 million for third place and a domestic total of $305 million. Then, number 2, the Super Mario Galaxy movie. Love this one. Is up to $386 million domestically after a second place weekend with $21.2 million. Then lastly, here we are, Michael rocked the box office. The Michael Jackson biopic movie opened with $97 million, the best debut ever for a biopic. How cool is that? And I'm excited to see this one. We'll go back to camera real quick like, zhink. Okay, so low-key, I kind of wanted to cover Michael this morning because I know that's the big story, that's the big news, everyone's going to be talking about that. I wasn't able to get it together in time. Some of my Michael costume pieces are coming in still, and I had some questions about how to present the whole thing moving forward, so there's a few things to figure out if indeed that one is to be covered in a whole episode. So stay tuned for potentially next week for Michael if everything gets cleared up with that. So yeah, and I didn't get to see the movie either, was the other big thing. I have not yet seen it. It was a very busy weekend. If you can believe it, I had 2 birthday parties to go to, both of them 50-year-old birthday parties. 2 of my buddies, separate nights, separate parties, so that kind of dominated the weekend. So it was a fun weekend though, and then the rest of it was just prepping for this and getting all my stuff together. I now remember I had a Hannibal poster I was going to hang up behind me. Totally forgot. It's hanging up in my room at home right now. Oh well, whatever. Real quick, before we get into the rest, check this out. I want to show you this. There. I have The Silence of the Hams on VHS. This movie is difficult to find. I don't know if you can stream it. I don't know if you can. I don't know if it was ever on DVD or Blu-ray. This is like a direct Silence of the Lambs parody. It was the scary movie of its time, or the Naked Gun of its time. It came out kind of in response to the Naked Gun and Loaded Weapon and all those, like the National Lampoon ones. And it is hilarious if you've never seen Silence of the Hams. It has Dom DeLuise on it. That's him on the cover there. Amazing. And the guy that plays like the Hannibal type guy, hilarious. Absolutely hilarious. So just wanted to showcase that. Somehow I still have that after all these years. Love that movie. Highly recommend it if you haven't seen it. There's a lot of fun Psycho stuff in there too, which is very fitting because the whole Hannibal series is based on kind of Ed Gein. And Ed Gein inspired Psycho and The Silence of the Lambs and the Texas Chainsaw Massacre. And let's get into the real life depictions that kind of shaped this movie and this franchise a little bit. So also Ted Bundy was a factor in this whole thing. So the whole idea, if you're not familiar with Silence of the Lambs, is the movie begins with Dr. Hannibal Lecter, he's incarcerated, and little Clarice Starling, played by Jodie Foster, comes to ask him for help. And she's asking for his help, like profiling a current serial killer out there that is doing bad things and needs to be stopped. And she thinks Hannibal Lecter is probably the person to ask. So he does volunteer to help in exchange for some favors, like, being transferred and things like that. So, like, that whole scenario is kind of based on Ted Bundy. When Ted Bundy was incarcerated, they came to him asking for help profiling and or catching other serial killers, such as the Green River Killer. So that whole thing kind of comes full circle here. We got Ted Bundy, we have Ed Gein, Psycho, Texas Chainsaw Massacre, Silence of the Lambs, and Hannibal himself isn't based on Ed Gein. Ed Gein, that plays into the Buffalo Bill storyline when that happens. That's the actual bad guy out there causing trouble, telling people to put lotion in baskets and things like that. So, if you haven't seen The Silence of the Lambs, yes, it's unsettling. I know none of my morning anchors saw it because they said it looks scary, it looks unsettling. That's the point of this thing. And it's more a mystery crime thriller that, yes, has horror elements in it. There is some kind of terrifying stuff in it, but overall it's a crime thriller. And it's iconic. I mean, what more is there to say other than it won Best Picture and it just swept the Oscars that year. You don't see horror do that much other than this year when Sinners came in and just mopped up. It was great. So, little throwback to that. It took 35 years, but horror came back and did it again. So, Silence of the Lambs, let's start at the beginning, actually. So the novels are written by Thomas Harris, and the first novel is not Silence of the Lambs, it is Red Dragon. And that also has Hannibal Lecter in it, and it follows Will Graham, who is kind of the Clarice Starling type in this. It's a similar story, and he goes for help, asking Dr. Hannibal Lecter about things, and it turns out those two had a history. It's not like him and Clarice Starling, who they meet for the first time on that day. Will and Hannibal knew each other very well long before he was incarcerated, so they have a history. There's a little bit of backstabbing going on there. Depending on what depiction of the movie you watch, the Red Dragon film adaptation has, Will Graham is directly responsible for actually capturing Hannibal Lecter. And, you know, it changes in the TV series a little bit as well, and there's also an adaptation which is called Manhunter. So we'll talk about that one first. Manhunter was the first Hannibal Lecter adaptation, and it was based on the first novel, Red Dragon. Why they didn't just outright call it Red Dragon, I don't know. But it actually stars a different actor as Hannibal Lecter. It is Brian Cox who plays Hannibal Lecter in this movie. And Brian Cox, if you're familiar with him, not only is he in everything, he's in Super Troopers. Like he's the main lieutenant. He's the guy in charge. What else? He was in The Ringer. He's in. He's in Trick or Treat. That's the best thing he's ever been in. He's in my favorite story, the last one, where Sam is attacking him, and he's old man Krieg, who wants nothing to do with Halloween, and Sam's like, oh yeah, I'll learn you, and he comes in there and wants to learn him that Halloween can't be escaped. So that's one of my favorite movies of all time. So Brian Cox has just been around, he's done everything, and when he portrayed Hannibal Lecter, he portrayed him kind of like I have here with the slick back hair and everything. He didn't really have the iconic mask that you see. It was kind of a different setup in that particular movie. So that follows the events of the novel Red Dragon, and the Tooth Fairy is the main serial killer out there causing trouble. What's the name of the actor? I'm trying to remember who portrays that killer. As the actor Tom, he just passed away. It's very unfortunate. He played a lot of great roles. He played the Frankenstein monster in Laughlin, something like that. Tom, he played the Frankenstein monster in Monster Squad, and he was in one of my favorite roles. He plays the Ripper in Last Action Hero in 1993. Just chilling performance. A lot of great stuff in that movie, and I really appreciated that movie. In fact, I would go as far as to say I think that adaptation of the story was better than the Red Dragon remake that came out many years later that actually had Anthony Hopkins in it. I think there are a lot of great things. Some things are done better in Red Dragon, but I'd say like the intensity is much better in Manhunter. And Will Graham and I can't tell you which Will Graham I like best. There's a lot of Will Grahams out there, including in the television series. So that's kind of Manhunter. This guy's trying to catch this other serial killer. He keeps consulting with Dr. Hannibal Lecter, and you figure out about their past. It's great. So then, many years later, 1991, is when they finally decided to adapt the second novel, The Silence of the Lambs, and they just got everything right with this movie. This is an amazing movie. It's one of the greatest films of all time, which is why it's being covered today instead of Michael or anything else. This won everything, and it deserved everything. The performances were amazing, the writing was amazing, the directing was amazing, and Jodie Foster as Clarice Starling, and some of the other supporting characters that show up are so fun and amazing as well, and it's just this constant feeling of dread in this movie, and it is a little unsettling, and it is a little off-putting, and it's just great, especially that final showdown at the end with Buffalo Bill. So the story setup with this is very similar. Clarice Starling is pulled in to kind of pick the brain of Dr. Hannibal Lecter and try to get him to help with this new serial killer that's on the loose called Buffalo Bill. And he is played by, the name of the actor. I'm drawing a blank. Iconic. He also does the voice of Rusty Nail in the Joyride movies. It's going to bother me that I'm not even remembering his name. I'm so sorry, Buffalo Bill. Can't remember your name offhand. Amazing actor. So, Buffalo Bill, very unsettling, and we all remember some of those lines. Put the lotion in the basket, and precious, and it rubs the lotion in its skin, or else it gets the hose again. Yes, it will, precious, it will get the hose. Iconic lines. Yes, they're all unsettling. They're meant to be unsettling. It's great. Do we even bother with spoilers? It doesn't matter. It's a 35-year-old movie. Clarice comes out on top, and she saves the day. She rescues the girl that had been kidnapped by Buffalo Bill. There's the whole well thing. That scene with all the fingernails sticking out. Oh, nope. That's unsettling. The moths, the stuff that was in the storage facility, the head in the jar, lots of disturbing images in this particular movie. So then, that movie came out, changed the world, just changed everything. There was a whole Oscar campaign with it, and it worked. The awesome thing about Silence of the Lambs is it was released in February, actually, of '91, so right around Valentine's Day. And if you think about it in a weird, sick, twisted kind of way, it is a little bit like a Valentine's Day movie. And so, Clarice saves the day, and that's the end of this particular movie. And Hannibal Lecter, he escapes. He gets away in the end, and you're low-key kind of rooting for him to escape because he's so clever. He's so cunning. He's a step ahead of everybody. And watching this movie for the first time, having no idea what to expect, I was like, oh man, I really hope Hannibal finds some way to outsmart everyone and get away, and he does. And what an amazing ending that is. He walks away into the crowd and just blends with everybody, presumably never to be seen again, or so we thought in 1991. So, nothing more would happen with the franchise until, we're going to jump ahead to 2001 now, Hannibal came out. And Hannibal broke the world. I've barely seen a movie so aggressively marketed. It seemed like for months leading up to Hannibal, all you saw is Hannibal, Hannibal everywhere, that red font, those letters. Anthony Hopkins is back, Hannibal. It was 10 years later, and that's, I do believe, the time jump in the film is 10 years later as well. And what a fun, satisfying movie that is. This movie has a lot of stuff that was cut out of it, which, upon watching it in the bonus features, really brings some clarity to some things. The But what a fun movie in general. So the story with Hannibal is, yes, it's 10 years later. Clarice Starling has been disgraced. She's in a situation where she's not famous anymore for this case, and they kind of just want to get rid of her. And she's working with the FBI now. That was her whole thing, was her dream was to get to the FBI, and it's not the place she thought it would be. It's very sexist. It's very much everything is stacked against her, and she just can't quite seem to get ahead. She can't get the respect she's asking for. So she's brought back on this case for different reasons. And Hannibal is about to try to return. And the big hook with this is that there's an old patient of Dr. Hannibal Lecter that has been trying to find him ever since, specifically to exact his revenge on him, not for the reward money or anything, but to get revenge. And it's a fun little twist in that some other guy who's on another random case out there, I believe in Florence, happens across Dr. Hannibal Lecter and finds him a little odd. Doesn't know like who he is. He's going under the name Dr. Feld, and so looks him up and figures out, oh, this is Dr. Hannibal Lecter. I can be fat paid if I turn this guy in. So the trap is set, and he's trying to catch Hannibal Lecter. But so is Mason Verger. This is the billionaire who's out to get him. He's got his fingies in every pot, and he is trying to, figure out all of the information that this guy knows in order to intercept and get Hannibal first. So everyone's coming to get Hannibal. Clarice is finally starting to figure out where Hannibal is and what he's up to as well. So everyone's starting to figure out where he's at. Everyone's closing in on Hannibal. It's this crazy cat and mouse game, and he's toying with every single one of them along the way, particularly Clarice. But like in a fun, playful way. Like the other guys he wants to kill and successfully does. Clarice, he straight up loves Clarice, and he just wants to toy around a little bit and have some fun. And he would never up and hurt her, as is shown in the final act, when everything comes to a head and Hannibal is captured. Clarice actually goes and saves him, even though she's kicked off the force temporarily. And she goes and saves him from Mason Verger. And there's a whole bloody brawl with these pigs and everything. And Hannibal gets the upper hand and then takes her to like his little place. And he's just having this silly little dinner scene at the end. Oh, everyone remembers the dinner scene with the brains, and it's Ray Liotta's there, and it's a whole thing. And then, man. So anyway, back to the point at hand here, where Clarice is starting to take steps to try to take Hannibal back in, and she's wrestling with him, and he tells her, like, I know you would deny me my freedom given the chance, but I would never hurt you, kind of a thing. And then he's about to leave, and she cuffs him to herself, and he looks at his cuffs and says, now that's really interesting, and I'm really pressed for time, so where's the key? And then there's a little struggle back and forth. She won't tell him where the key is. The cops are coming to get him. Oh, it's so tense. And he sees a meat cleaver he had been preparing dinner with. And he holds up the meat cleaver, he puts her hands down, and he's like, this is really gonna hurt. And he goes, wham! And then it cuts away. And then we jump ahead and we see Clarice has both of her hands. So Hannibal, in a fit of love, cut his own hand off to spare Clarice, but to also escape. So that's how much he loves her. He'd give her his hand. And then there's a cute little scene at the end where he's escaping on the plane, and he's got his arm all bandaged up, and he's got his brains with him. Kind of a weird ending there, but yeah, it will stick with you. So, you know, I didn't even get into the whole Jodie Foster thing. So, Jodie Foster was supposed to play Clarice Starling again in Hannibal, but you know, and she had been attached to multiple drafts, and she had been attached from the jump, but something kind of happened along the way that must have rubbed her the wrong way, and she just kind of changed her mind on the thing. And I think some of the drafts she was seeing, she just was disagreeing with and decided, like, no, I don't think that they're handling Clarice the way that they should. And that kind of led to her backing out of the project, which is really sad, because now it's Julianne Moore who plays Clarice Starling. And even though it's been a 10-year jump, you know it's not Jodie Foster. And, you know, for me, it wasn't super distracting when I watched it the first time, but for anyone who's watching these movies for the first time and you watch Silence of the Lambs and you go right into Hannibal, it might be a little jarring to be like, who's this girl now? Yeah, it's Clarice Starling. And that's really unfortunate that they couldn't figure things out. But thus is life. So then, that is Hannibal. Totally broke the world when that came out, so they immediately announced another Hannibal movie right on the heels of that, and that was Red Dragon. It came out only like a year and a half, 2 years later, and this one stars Edward Norton as the Will Graham character, and it's basically a straight-up remake of Manhunter, and you know, it has its merits. It's fun to see. The thing that stands out most to me in the Red Dragon adaptation is there's a whole opening scene that explains how Hannibal got incarcerated. There's a whole struggle between him and Will Graham. It's a huge moment because you see those two hanging out as friends, and they're discussing this case of this killer on the loose, and oh, you know, what can happen? And Will starts to figure out that, oh no, the killer I'm looking for is actually my best friend, Hannibal Lecter. What do I do? And then there's a moment where he has to kind of choose, and then Hannibal comes at him, and there's a struggle, and things didn't work out well for either of them, but you know, Edward Norton kind of got the upper hand, and Hannibal was taken down for the time being, and then they caught him. And that's the whole opening sequence of Red Dragon, and that was really fun to see. And then the rest of the movie is pretty much the same as Manhunter. Nothing too crazy except for then the very end, after everything's wrapped up. And there's a little teaser that hints ahead to the fact that Clarice is now coming down to speak with him for the first time, and then that would lead directly into the Silence of the Lambs. So there's your original Hannibal Lecter trilogy, or quadrilogy, if you will, starring Anthony Hopkins and Brian Cox there as Hannibal Lecter. So I went too long on this one again. So we're going to go to a quick break. When we come back, we're going to talk about more Hannibal-related things. There's Hannibal Rising, there's the television series, and then I want to show a fun little slideshow of my memories and my personal connection to Hannibal Lecter himself, and just how he's been a part of my life growing up as well. So we're going to toss a break real quick here, and we will return in just a minute, my friends, so stick around. Joink!